life goes, every way and which way. Who knows, will we ever see a better day?
What up? What's going on, YouTube? Man, you guys already know who it is, man. It's your boy, Sports God TV, where we talk sports like religion. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, man. Hit that notification bell so you could get notified when I upload. Share the content, jump in the comments. Let's get it cracking. This video right here today is just to ask a simple question. Is Saul, King Canelo Alvarez, still the face of boxing? Or is it now Gervonta Tank Davis position? Now, we all know September 30th, Canelo Alvarez has a undisputed super middleweight championship bout with Charlo. Both fighters are undisputed in their respective weight classes. Charlo, who fights at 154, jumped up 2 weight classes to get it on with Saul, King Canelo Alvarez at 168 for his undisputed titles, okay? But digging into to see if my favorite fighter, by the way, shout out to Mexico, Viva Mexico! Yes, sir. Digging into the stats, digging into the perspective to lay down the foundation on if Canelo Alvarez is still the face of boxing. He is most definitely and widely recognized as one of the best, if not the best fighter in the world. Can't give him #1 pound for pound. I have to be clear on that. That is Terrence Bud Crawford, obviously. But when we're talking cash cows in the game, and I think Canelo has put in a lot of work to get to a certain level in the sport of boxing. Canelo Alvarez has come close to 10 million pay-per-view buys in his career. Illustrious career, should I add. 12 of those fights were headliners. And the pay-per-view buys averaged out to about $830,000 per event. One of his most highest pay-per-view fight came against one of the greatest of all time, widely recognized as TBE, the best ever, FLOYD Money Mayweather. That pay-per-view did 2.2 million buys. Canelo obviously was fighting a legend, you know, as he was young in the game and slowly becoming a legend in himself. And I believe Canelo Alvarez took a lot from that fight with FLOYD Money Mayweather. Moving on to one of his lowest pay-per-view buys, there's 2 fights. You got Liam Smith and Israelande Lara. Both respectively did 300K buys. And at the time when he fought Liam Smith was the WBO junior middleweight champion of the world. It's kind of ironic considering the base that Canelo Alvarez has, with his home base being Mexico, the country, the whole country. And then even the ones that is here in the States, in the United States. A huge base, but the opponent wasn't an attraction like Floyd, Money, Mayweather. You guys gonna see where I'm going with this in a few. Okay, 4 of Canelo's fights throughout his illustrious career sold over 1 million pay-per-view buys. One being whom I just mentioned, TBE, one of the greatest of all time, Floyd, Money, Mayweather. The second fight, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which obviously both have the legendary background of the Mexico fighters, and the son of Wiley, the favorite Mexican fighter probably of all time, at least in my humbled opinion, Julio Cesar Chavez himself. And then in the Triple G trilogy, 2 of those fights did 1 million buys, over 1 million buys. And we all know how those 3 fights turned out. Now, Canelo Alvarez's last 3 fights, the first being in May of 2022 on DAZN against WBA super lightweight champion Dimitri Bivol, did 520,000 pay-per-view buys. Triple G was the next fight after Bivol on September 17th, 2022. And that fight did 550,000 pay-per-view buys. And then Canelo's last fight, May 6, 2023, versus British boxer and 2-time interim super middleweight champion John Ryder, did anywhere between 300 to 400K buys. And like I mentioned, as far as the first fight goes, the upcoming fight on September 30th, you have Jermell Charlo, which I think is a very intriguing fight. But here's where I'm leaning towards this. Now you have Tank Davis, groomed, one of the most exciting fighters. Calvin Ford is a wonderful trainer. Gervonta Tank Davis is one of the most exciting fighters in boxing, and he has been underneath of the Mayweather Promotions banner and has been groomed and schooled by the great TBE, Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. Now, in 5 pay-per-view fights of Tank Davis, he has drawn more than 2.2 million buys that averages out about 375,000 pay-per-view buys per fight. Here's a rundown on Gervonta Tank Davis's resume in those fights. He actually has 6. Leo Santa Cruz, 200,000 pay-per-view buys. Mario Barrios, 210,000 pay-per-view buys. Isaac Pitbull Cruz, 150,000 pay-per-view buys. Rolando Romero, 250,000 pay-per-view buys. Hector Garcia, 210,000 pay-per-view buys. And Gervonta Tank Davis's last fight that pretty much kicked off a wildfire in the sport of boxing as far as competition and fights being made against King Ryan Garcia, which did 1.2 million buys. Did you guys peep the pattern when I mentioned Gervonta Tanks Davis, and when you compare it to TBE, the greatest of all time, Floyd Money Mayweather, you can see the blueprint within that. Because it goes back to a discussion that I had a few weeks ago when I mentioned that Mexican Americans and the whole country of Mexico and Black Americans here in the United States are the most supportive ethnicity groups when it comes to the sport of boxing. And Gervonta Tank Davis is a prime example of that. The fighters he has fought, whom his teacher, his freaking coach, his promoter, his big brother, whatever you want to call him, took the same path when he fought Oscar De La Hoya or Marcus Manuel Marquez, I'm sorry. Obviously, Manny Pacquiao, even though he's from the Philippines. And then you got Madonna and so forth. I said Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, so the pattern of the successful career when you are a name or have a talent in the sport of boxing appears to mix and match those two ethnicity groups together to get the most out of the pack. Now, with that being said, in 5 fights, Tank has drawn more than 2.2 million versus Canelo has 12 that has pushed him over 10 million. Ask yourself this question. Is Saul King Canelo Alvarez still the face of boxing? Or is Gervonta Tank Davis now the face of boxing? It's your boy, Sports God TV, where we talk sports like religion, and I'm out. Until the next time.